So the only one I don't see is Kevin.
He's not in the waiting room at the moment.
Okay, thanks, Max.
All right, you guys are live.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call our meeting to order at 11 a.m. on January 14th, 2021. This is the City of Rehoboth Beach Environmental Committee. And I welcome all of you. The first thing I'm going to do is roll call of the committee members. And please just wave and let us know that you're here when I call your name. Charlie Garlow.
Here.
Catherine Bergwin. Kevin Carr. Nettie Green.
Here.
Mary Peck. Stuart Martins.
Here.
Heather Metz. Janet Taylor Smith.
Right here.
And yours truly, Dick Byrne, Chair of the committee. Thank you all for making time this morning and joining us. We may have now and or we will have in the near future 3 guests with us that will be part of and will be leading the discussion under number 7 on the agenda, new business, the Dark Skies presentation. I already heard from Frank Cooper, and joining us will be Jan Connessy and Kate Markert. All 3 are residents and citizens in the city of Rehoboth Beach, and we will be getting to that shortly on the agenda. What I'm hoping to do on the agenda is to move into that agenda item at about 1/2 the hour, so that we can have enough time to go through the PowerPoint presentation and follow that up with some important discussion. So what that means, are there any other citizens that have joined?
There are no more. Only Frank Cooper is on from that list that you gave.
Okay, all right. So hopefully shortly, Jan and Kate will be joining for that agenda item. Thank you. So,
Dick, I'm sorry, interrupt.
I really
Jan,
see.
Jan and Kate will be joining late, but they will be here.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Frank. Good to have you with us. So the next item of business is approval of the minutes from our last meeting, December 4th, 2020, last year. You've all received at least one copy of the minutes. Catherine, thank you for your thorough job. Are there any comments, additions, deletions? Is there a motion to approve?
Approve. To approve.
Okay, Janet made the motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Nettie, thank you very much. Additional comments? All in favor of approving the minutes from December 4th, 2020, please raise your hand. Okay, it looks like it's unanimous. Thank you very much. And again, Catherine, thank you for your good service to the committee. There's no correspondence that I'm aware of, but we did receive, thanks to Charlie, a couple of newsy items that were added and embedded in the agenda under old business, item B, a discussion on the draft of the climate action plan or the sustainable action plan. I'm going to put that off until our next meeting because we do have a draft paper that we want to get out to all of you. We will do that in the near future, and that I think deserves some considerable amount of attention and discussion. And so, but by taking that off the agenda, that will give us time at about 11:30 to go into new business and the dark skies. And let me just say quickly before we get into old business, item A, that I'm adjusting the agenda because the dark skies discussion is very timely right now. And you will understand why once we get into it. Whereas if we put it off for a month or two, we may have missed an opportune time to have some input into what we'll be talking about. And I think it just speaks to the flexibility of some of these kind of issues in the big total environment, that some are going to take precedent over the others because there's a timeliness to it. And so we will get to that shortly. So the first big agenda item then really is update and discussion on single-use plastics. This has been an ongoing discussion item off and on for a number of months. It's been obviously a hot agenda item for all of us, as well as larger population. I have to give credit to Charlie and Stuart for continuing to work and refine our position paper on it. I think it still has room probably for some refinements and some tinkering, but a lot of good thought and good work has gone into it. And then there's a second shorter paper that you received yesterday that deals specifically with the reduction and elimination of plastic straws, and that was embedded into the most recent agenda that you received sometime yesterday afternoon. And so, with all of that said, there have been some discussions. I've been in discussion with Charlie. I've been in discussion with Stuart as these papers have been worked on. Maybe some of you have as well. We need to be careful that that when there is a mass of 3 or more committee members, that we do it very publicly on these kind of meetings, that in order to meet the FOIA regulations. But I can tell you that there was a discussion yesterday that Stuart and I had that grew out of this work, again with Carol Everhart at the Chamber of Commerce.
Great.
And so what I'm going to do is call on Charlie and Stuart to really kind of guide this discussion, and I'll jump in as it seems appropriate. Let me just say what I see coming out of our discussion today, hopefully, will be an interest in wanting to introduce something to the mayor and commissioners workshop meeting on, I believe that date is Monday, February 8th. Okay. And I'm going to jump back. I'm sorry. Something else on the agenda that I missed, and that's an update from the chair. And so a totally different topic that we've worked on. Then we'll jump ahead, Charlie and Stuart, for your discussion here with the committee. Quick update that I wanted to make has to do with all of the work that Heather led us through for many months on the 5G wireless issues in the city of Rehoboth Beach. As I said last month, it's gone through reviews, discussions. The proposal that came from this committee garnered a great deal of attention at the level of the city manager, the city solicitor, the mayor, and the outside legal firm that the city contracts with in terms of consulting in the area of wireless. I think I mentioned last month that the Planning Commission also put this on their agenda because it seems to fit their area of interest, and they certainly had some input into it. And they helped support some of the work that came from this committee's recommendations. And so with all of that said, there's been general consensus among the commissioners for moving this forward. Tomorrow at the commissioners' monthly meeting at 2 p.m., There is an agenda item that will ask the commissioners to approve a draft ordinance that would bring the draft ordinance then to a public hearing. And that public hearing would likely be on commissioners' agenda next month in February. So while it's a slow process, it is moving along in the way that it can move along. So there's been a great deal of input, and I'm very confident that the commissioners, after the last number of weeks of discussion on this item, will pass a motion tomorrow to move this to a public hearing. I will let you know the date of that. Hopefully most of you are on the city mail list to get various committee agendas that you have an interest in. If you're not, I would suggest that you do that so that you could keep up to date, particularly with some of these things that come out of our committee go along to the next meeting. So I will update all of you after the commissioners meeting tomorrow, but I don't anticipate any pushback. I anticipate smoothly sailing on to a public hearing. And with that said, we can now move ahead, Stuart and Charlie, to the plastics discussion.
You want me to start, Dick?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Charlie. Thanks for all you've been doing with this.
Sure thing. Thank you, Dick, for your leadership, and to Stuart as well. I know many members who are loyal members of the committee here have been hanging in, rooting for us to move ahead on this. It's been fits and starts because of our greater ambitions to want to do a lot more, and by the stymied, if you will, stubbing our toe because of the economic downturn and the concerns of the local business community. However, if we can get a little something, get our foot in the door, get our toe in the water with the one first step, and maybe that is a wise strategy. At one point, I was sort of in favor of saying, well, look, why don't we be completely honest, lay out the entire list of things we hope to ban eventually, and then say that, you know, we're only asking for straws right now. On the other hand, that makes it more complicated, and maybe we don't need to make things more complicated for people we don't have to. But in any event, at this point, I think we're considering, with Dick's and Stewart's input on how this may fly with our friends in the business community and the Chamber of Commerce, to say that we would promote the idea of banning plastic straws in favor of compostable straws, which could be either paper or bamboo or other compostable material. Don't have to specify what they're going to go with. And those will be available on request only. And we can pitch this by saying to the business community, this will save you money because, you know, you're going to be handing out fewer of these straws since it's only on request only. So I'm hopeful that this proposal and this current draft or write-up will do the trick. We certainly could polish up the language of the draft that's circulating, but it's, you know me, the perpetual optimist. I'm eager to see us get a win here in our corner. I mean, I know that we didn't get everything we wanted on 5G, not by a long stretch, but I consider that a partial win. But I think we can do a lot more or get more here with eliminating plastics. But starting a little slow out of the blocks may be a good strategy. Let me stop there and ask Stuart what further info he has from his discussions with the Chamber of Commerce and for anybody else. Stuart?
Thank you, Charlie, and thank you for your work on this, as well as everybody on the committee we've been talking about this for over a year now. We have Main Street on board. Dan Slagle we've talked to Dan Slagle, Charlie and I did. He's in favor of this. We've talked to Dick, and I had a meeting with Carol Everhart, head of the Chamber of Commerce, yesterday, because it was the only time she had available. So we take any time we can get. She is just absolutely crazy with all the stuff she's trying to do to protect the businesses from going under here in Rehoboth. So we were ready to propose this right when COVID hit, as you remember. We were ready to make our full board proposal to the commissioners. COVID hit. So Carol and said, the board cannot support the plastics ban. We don't even want to take it up because 30 to 40% of the members are probably going to go out of business. So she said it was a non-starter. She didn't even want to talk about it. Finally, we got her to the point where she was willing to talk about it. Yesterday, she entertained a meeting with us, and that's why the plastic straws came in, because the all-around plastics is a cost to the business, and she is not in favor of anything that's going to cost the businesses at this moment in time. This could all change by the fall or winter when a bunch of us are vaccinated, but not now. So what we have right now is what we have right now, with very few of us having been vaccinated. So I would bring your attention to the proposal for straws. She seemed to like the proposal for straws. She and her husband dine out frequently here in Rehoboth. Her husband is a big iced tea drinker. She indicated that a number of places where they patronize are giving straws out, but only on request. So there's some keys in this proposal. The key in this proposal is not straws on request, but only compostable straws on request. Now I was very transparent to her because she brought it up yesterday. What's the cost of a compostable straw? It's got to be more than a plastic. It is. I ran a cafe in a business that I had just a couple of years ago. I called the vendor to get the pricing. Right now, compostable straws are roughly 3 times the cost of a plastic straw. So that seems like it's an increase of cost to the vendor. And the key here is placards. When you put out the placards, and the Lonely Whale has them, when you put out the placards that say, we're not going to give you a straw except when you request it because of what it does for the environment. What they have studies, they have a couple of studies that up to 80% of the people, patrons, stop asking for straws altogether. Therefore, you are actually reducing the cost of the business. By the way, this placard from Lonely Whale was sent to us over a year ago by our mayor, who happened to be having lunch or dinner at Lito's restaurant in Ocean City. So he's the one that sent us the placard. I'd already seen it in a couple restaurants. So Stan is very well aware of this. The other thing is we are all being looked at right now. The educational factor, January 1st, Delaware stopped plastic bags. But all the grocery stores started, when the people got mad at the grocery store cashiers who had nothing to do with this. All they were doing was doing what they had. And a lot of us would get mad, say, this bag has no handles on it. I hate this bag. Where are my plastic bags? So we're inundating them with berating them. They have nothing to do with it. What is happening? None of their employees are being given training. So they can't answer the question. And so customers leaving mad, the cashiers are getting frustrated, and there's no education. There was a huge training miss by the state of Delaware of stating what we're doing and why we're doing it. You also have seen Acme and Safeway start charging 5 cents a bag. Here's the educational point. The educational point is when you start charging anywhere from 10 to 25 cents a bag, you are educating the customer. You better bring in your reusable bag. So
I knew this was going to happen. Denrick, they did not do enough advertising of the program, and
it's a
I knew
government.
it was going to happen.
It's a government thing, Mary, and they don't know how to do it. It's no fault of theirs, but there should have been an educational component. We have an opportunity to have an educational component in this thing and to reduce straws. And the big educational component is if we adopt this. What happens if Dewey adopts this, Lewis adopts this, Bethany adopts this, Fenwick? Now you have some critical mass. And it's not the 1,500 of us that live in Rehoboth Beach. It's the 600,000 of us that come and visit here from other states that don't have this education, that come here for a week. if there's a placard on every table or at every opportunity that we have, it'll take 2 or 3 years. After 2 or 3 years, people will understand there's no straws, and we're going to, the write-up is pretty self-explanatory. It needs a lot of work though. I'm glad we could get it in the agenda today, because Janet is great at doing this. Janet can wordsmith this thing, and as Dick said, it needs to be improved, but it's in the format that the mayor wants it or that the commissioners want it. So I'm asking, and by not avoiding the FOIA law, I couldn't really send it out to everybody. So now you all have it, and I really would hope that you'd look at this, reword it, give your suggestions back, because Dick says we are going to get on the workshop, the commissioner's workshop that's in early February. So I think that's it. Unless there's questions, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
And we're done.
Stuart and Charlie, thank you. Stuart, the thing that I would add, and if you mentioned it, because I had to step away, I've got someone doing some work in my house, and I needed to, and they were going to start making a lot of noise close by. And so at any rate, one of the things that Carol came up with and that she is going to do within the next couple of days is to put out a survey. Did you mention that, Stuart?
No, that I had it on my notes here and I forgot it, but
Yeah.
Carol, yeah, go ahead.
I think this is critical. What Carol wants to do is, and I think it's twofold. One, give kind of a heads up to the restaurants in town, and then secondly, get some input from them, particularly around what kind of inventory of plastic straws are they sitting on, so that if the city moves in some direction, we're not told right away, and that they're all angry because they're sitting on thousands and thousands of plastic straws, but also that they stop ordering thousands more, knowing that it's possible that a change could be coming. And then also asking the businesses, very importantly, about what they would view as best timing on this. Does it make sense to put this in place on July 1st or October 1st or next January 1st? And so she will, in quick order, it sounds like, get some input and then get it back to us. In fact, she said she would run a draft of her little survey by Stuart and me within the next couple of days. So hopefully that will happen. And I think if she can get some input, that can be very helpful to us going forward, because I know that's going to be a critical discussion point for the mayor and the commissioners, and that is, what is the status of the businesses? Are they willing to do this? Particularly at this time that is a very, very challenging time for our restaurants. And like you, I think like all of you, this is concerning because we've been talking about this for over a year. Had COVID not hit, I think we'd be in a very different place. But here we are in mid-January, and if anything, the COVID situation is getting worse. The number of cases increases, the number of hospitalizations, unfortunately, the number of deaths are going up in Delaware, in Sussex County, and nationwide. And so what that is doing is continuing to just make the situation that more dire for our restaurants. And so we're having to just move this along. And I think it's frustrating because we'd like to get it in place, and but timing is everything, and it needs to be a win-win. It needs to be a situation where people say, yes, we definitely care about eliminating, reducing, reusing plastic, but it has to fit. It has to be realistic. in their business plan as well. Now, Carol made the point, I think, like Stuart said, that a number of our businesses have voluntarily moved to this kind of a model. I'm seeing that even with the carryout packaging. That when a year ago, there was mostly heavy-duty plastic that was getting thrown away, and now I'm noticing that more and more are going to a paper-like tray-like thing that we're carrying home and not throwing the plastic away, and that's being done on a volunteer basis. Now, I'm also assuming the cost is driving some of that, as well as just wanting to do the right thing for the environment. So these are both critical elements. So what I'd like to do is get support general consensus from the committee that we're on the right track here, and that Stuart and Charlie and I can continue with Carol and get her feedback, and then kind of tweak this proposal. And it's really a discussion piece. It's not as much as a proposal right now, but to get it in front of the commissioners, hopefully on February 8th for discussion. So we update them on where we're at, on where the chamber is at, and then get some guidance from the mayor and the commissioners. Hopefully the guidance would be that, yes, they want us to move this along.
We're absolutely on
So,
the right track.
I think we need to have some group discussion.
Yeah,
I think
I want to thank all of you all for your hard work of catching people and being realistic. And I just think you're on the right track. Yeah. Just the whole paper bag thing, the plastic and the paper bag. I'm just sensing that there is education in the fact that it, like, boom, happened. It happened January 1st, and no more plastic bags. I mean, talk about an education, and you have people walking out, whoa, this seems like old times, and I speak to them, and I speak to the cashiers, and the cashiers are in a dilemma. And Mary, I totally agree with you. It's been very poorly, there's been very little education. But I think this is our next low-hanging fruit is the bag thing, because people are getting used to that. And the cashiers, even when I talk to them, they say, this is using trees. They realize it. This is using trees. And, now we're all these hundreds and hundreds of paper bags that we're just giving to people. And so, certainly, I think the city should go along with not having plastic bags. I mean, that's also kind of a no-brainer, but perhaps we could do some education. But I mean, when people go to get groceries and go to Walmart, I mean, they're not getting plastic bags anymore. So I think that could be the next thing. Both of those, of course, straws and plastic bags, that's pretty minimal, but I think that's the next thing. Just my feeling.
Okay, thanks, Nettie.
Yeah.
Janet?
I 100% agree with the direction you're going. I think the straws would be the least resistant for the businesses in the chamber. We all have been talking about this for a long time, as we said, but we're ahead of the curve for the general population. They got this January 1st, and they don't know what to do. So of course, I think the straws, and in that document that we viewed with the notes, it said the placards are an excellent idea. As you're sitting there waiting for your food, what do? If you don't, like, I don't stay on my phone, but what I do is I look around the table, look all around things, and I start reading. Oh, look at this. That looks pretty cool. Oh, I see why they're doing it. Well, I can get behind that. So you're causing a gradual change. And I think that's the key here, working with the businesses and being gradual about it. We want to stop it all. I mean, you all know that, but that's not realistic here and now, especially under these conditions. So what we have to do is gently start with something, get them used to that, and then we can keep the momentum going. And I think that's the way to go, to work with the businesses, see where this survey that we're going to put out will take it, and we'll see where we meet and that work from there. I think that's the way.
Thank you. Stuart?
I know we're running out of time because we're at 11:30. We need to get on to the next thing. But here again, Carol indicated last March, all these people were ordering their supplies, their straws for last summer's business that never happened. So the plastic straws are still sitting in their thing because they had to close down immediately. So she doesn't know, and we don't know. This survey is a way of finding out, because we don't want to put a burden of them of compliance when they spent several $100s on straws. And what am I going to do with these straws now? Throw them out. So it would help, as Dick just said, they would stop ordering plastic straws for this year, use up their existing base. That's what the survey is for. And at least they'd stop buying plastic straws immediately, and we'd start worming our way into the compostable straws. And the placards can be put up today, actually. The educational piece could be put up today, which means anybody dining, the few people that are dining, would voluntarily be stopping to use it and requesting straws. So that's I know we're running late, so I apologize.
Yeah, so, Stuart, I recall when Stan Mills shared that placard with us, but I can't find it. Not sure what I did with it on one of my several computers here. Could you share that with us when you get a chance, please?
Yeah, I will. And actually, anybody who goes up on Lonely Whale, you're going to see it on Lonely Whale. It's on their homepage, but lonelywhale.org. But I have it in my file, and can I send that to everybody without violating FOIA?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not going to discuss it.
Okay.
I'm going to share it, or you can send it to me and I'll do that.
Okay.
Any last comments on this before we move the agenda, Charlie? And you're muted.
Good. Thank you, Dick. I would just caution against saying that the paper straws cost 3 times as much as plastic straws, because the price of good materials keeps going down as we buy more of them. I don't want to turn people off by saying, oh my God, it's 3 times more. Forget the whole dang thing. Let's just sotto voce and keep that on the down low. I don't mean to be dishonest, but I was just thinking we shouldn't lead with something that gives ourselves a punch in the teeth. The other thing I'd like to see is if part of the survey could ask local restaurants who are supportive, especially of a non-plastic straw option, how much they're spending on straws versus the rest of the operation. Like Bob's Coffee Mill, who's been doing paper straws for like ever. I bet you they would say, oh, look, our biggest costs are labor and the coffee beans. The straws is like less than 1% of our costs, or maybe it's 0.5%. If we had that statistic, I think that might be a good selling point.
Here's the statistic. A plastic straw is a penny. A compostable straw, depending on what it is, at 3 cents. Soda, if you put a soda in a cup, the soda, if you buy it by the bag instead of these plastic bottles, soda is like 2 cents for a 16-ounce or 24-ounce soda. It's like 2 cents. There's your cost.
So what's the cost of the overhead for that purchase that you're selling for $1.50?
I'm sorry, what did you say, Charlie?
If you're selling that soda for $1 or $1.50, what's the rest of the cost? The labor, the overhead, the building, the rent, all of that.
Yeah, but you don't, that you're getting too. I think we're getting too far in the weeds with that. The cost of the soda is a penny for the straw for a plastic straw. The cup is probably 3 cents. The soda, if they buy it by the bag, which here again is environmentally safe, is negligible because the bag soda it's concentrated and it saves the environment. And of course,
Stuart, I'm trying to point out,
everyone, I'm gonna move the agenda. I want to conclude this and thank you all. And I'm sorry to cut you off, Charlie, or anyone else, but I do want to make time for the next portion here. And I think the takeaway is that there is consensus to move this ahead. And so thank you for your input. If you have thoughts or ideas after the meeting today, don't hesitate to text or email me, not for group discussion, but just input to me as chair, and I'll be more than happy to listen to and utilize your thoughts, ideas, and so on. And with that said, we're going to go to new business, the Dark Skies presentation. And so we have with us Frank Cooper, Jan Conacy, and Kate Markert. If they're all here, they're all residents, very active in our community for many years in a variety of ways. And without saying any more, Frank, I'm going to turn it over to you and to guide us here. And I'll kind of keep my eye on the clock. And we're very happy and pleased to have you with us today.
Well, can I just say, I'm Kate Markert, and I'm going to take the lead, and then Frank will join in as we do this presentation. So Frank, if you would share your the Dark Skies Rehoboth presentation. Is that possible?
Yeah, thanks, Kate. And Frank, you're muted. Frank?
You have to
Yes.
unmute yourself, yeah.
Yes, Dark Skies should be shared. Let's see.
There you go.
You see it? Okay.
Yeah, it's up.
Great. Okay. Well, I will just start. Thank you very much, Commissioner Byrne, for inviting us here. And thank you, all the members of the committee, for hearing our presentation. I just want to say, Jan was not able to be with us today, but she lives in the Pines. Frank lives in South Rehoboth, and I am in Schoolview. So we sort of represent all of Rehoboth. And we are here today to request that the Environmental Committee support our request to the Rehoboth Beach Mayor and Commissioners that they choose dark sky compliant lighting for the boardwalk as really a first step for Rehoboth Beach becoming a dark sky compliant community. So Frank, if you'll go to the next slide. And this has a very strong basis in, Rehoboth Beach traditions. In 2010, the CDP included a component on the night sky landscape, and that ended by saying the city should use environmentally responsible outdoor lighting and promote responsible legislation, public policy, and standards for such lighting in Rehoboth Beach. So I don't feel like we're moving very far away from what Rehoboth has said that it wants to do. And actually at the very end of our presentation, we have the exact language from the CDP. So if you wanna check that, you can do that. So yes, so what is light pollution? I'm sure that all the members of this committee are quite aware of it. It's any adverse effect from artificial light, including sky glow, glare, light trespass, and energy waste. And we'll very, very quickly go through. I'm sure you've all seen sky glow. It's that dome of brightness on the horizon that obscures our view of the night sky. It's caused by the misdirected light scattering through our atmosphere. So this is just a photograph from Tucson, but I'm sure you've seen it here very frequently.
And I might add that our current boardwalk lights contribute to sky glow.
For sure, as well as glare, which is our next slide. And I'm sure everybody has been driving at night and blinded by ongoing high beams. That is glare. That's when light enters our eyes at very shallow angles, and it really restricts the pupil. We can't see. And of course, the current boardwalk lights definitely produce glare. So then the next area is light trespass. This is, I'm sure everybody has had this experience, and I am experiencing it right now very unhappily. It's the light streaming in your bedroom at night from wherever it is. many of us may have neighbors with very bright security lights. And that's an example of light trespass, when lights falling outside the property boundary onto another property of home. And you could really think of light trespass as a private property rights issue. Of course, the current boardwalk lights trespass on adjacent homes as well as the beach. Light pollution is a huge waste of money and energy. About 35% of lighting worldwide is wasted light that just shoots straight up into the sky, which of course the boardwalk lights do. When we do the math, we spend around $3 to $7 billion a year on wasted light and add 21 million tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere each year. So there are also ecological impacts, and the ones that we're very aware of, here in Rehoboth, is the turtles who cannot find their way to the sea because before the advent of artificial illumination, hatchlings always oriented themselves towards the ocean because that was the brightest part in their field of vision. Of course, now that the moon and the stars reflecting on the ocean are no longer the brightest light in their field of vision, now they're coming back towards the boardwalk or towards the land rather than the ocean. So they get disoriented as they're clambering towards the wrong direction. I know none of us want to harm our turtles with the lights. Humans are not untouched by the phenomenon of light pollution either. We evolved on the planet with reliable cycles of light and dark, and now the addition of light into what has always been a dark time disrupts our natural circadian rhythm. And so it interrupts the syncing of our biological clock with the day and night cycle. So, our circadian rhythm is mediated by melatonin. And so I'm sure some of you have taken that as you are trying to combat the effects of the change in timing when you're going to Europe or whatever. So it's just really important. The too much light is not good for any of us, humans or animals. So now we're getting into a little more of the techie area. I'm going to turn it over to Frank to talk to us about Kelvin and correlated temperature with light.
Yes, one of the factors in the effect of light pollution on humans is the color temperature, and that's measured in heat or degrees of Kelvin. And one of the problems we have now is that LED lights are easier and cheaper to make in very bluish white light, which is exactly what is bad for people. And it's also not attractive. So part of the Dark Skies Initiative best practices is recommending only going as high as 3000 Kelvin to minimize the amount of blue in the light. This is healthier for humans and for the environment. I think the current boardwalk lights may be above 3000 Kelvin. Me personally, I think they should be down about 2700, a nice warm yellow glow. The benefits of this are multiple, and one of the benefits that people don't really think about often is that people actually look better. As if anybody's been involved in lighting and theater and whatnot, human beings look better in warm light. And the other opposition sometimes you run into is that, well, we need this light for security and for safety, and we do need light for security and safety, but well-directed light is safer light. And in this, the slide that's up now, you may see to the bottom right, a man standing at a gate, in a gateway. And he is in the same gateway in the picture above it, but you can't see it. That's because the iris of the camera has gotten smaller to compensate for that bright light. Well, the eyes do the same thing. So the fact is that you see in dark areas better when light is directed where it needs to be as opposed to the glare of light. So good light is safer light, not necessarily more light. And this is what we mean by good light. See what is lit, not the light. On the very bad spectrum, you have just a globe with bright light shining out in all directions. Unfortunately, this is exactly what we have on the boardwalk right now. We'd like to go to best, which would just shine light down onto the boardwalk, not onto the sky, not onto the beach, not onto the homes alongside the boardwalk, but just on the place where people are. And this would be safer too, because you'd be able to actually see what's going on the boardwalk and not be affected by the glare of the lights. Also, the beauty of the night sky is one of the things that's kind of affected by our lighting the sky up and you get a reflection off of the moisture in the sky. So you really can't see the stars and the moon is diminished by light pollution. And, you know, our boardwalk is a major tourist attraction. And as like other towns, you might not be able to actually see the sky when you're on the boardwalk. But I think it creates an indelible memory when people are walking down the boardwalk, if they could see the sky at night and the beauty of it. It improves the appearance of the boardwalk and the people on it and enhances Rehoboth's charm. And it aligns with the original aesthetics of Rehoboth Beach, which was not a brilliantly LED lit town. So far we've got the Rehoboth Beach Homeowners Association has on board with our Dark Skies initiative, and the Boardwalk Committee recommends to the mayor that all lighting on the boardwalk, including the new 5G poles, which will be replaced soon, be dark sky compliant. And this is what Dick was talking about, this being timely, is that they are going to be buying new equipment for the boardwalk. And they're going to be putting lights and antennas up. And we would like, this is the time to start changing to dark sky compliant lighting rather than buying stuff now and then having to replace it later. This is the time to do that. So our next steps are we're asking the Environmental Committee to recommend to the mayor and commissioners that all the lighting on the boardwalk, including the new 5G poles, be dark sky compliant. And then we would like the mayor and commissioners to approve all lighting on the boardwalk be dark skies compliant. If you are looking for dark skies compliant lighting, the Dark Skies organization has a label. They have looked at these lamps, and so it's not a guessing game as to which fixtures are dark sky compliant. This is kind of industry known standard that we're talking about here. So that is our presentation, and if you'd like to ask questions or discuss this, we'd be happy to entertain those.
Frank, thank you very much. And Kate, pleasure to have you with us and to make the time for us to consider this. But we'll get the committee back up on the screen in just a minute because I'm very interested in hearing from all of you in terms of your thoughts about this issue and the next steps, and if there's consensus and support to make this recommendation that Frank just talked about. It is very timely. Frank just mentioned that the city is working with wireless vendors in terms of new light poles on the boardwalk that will be hosting the 5G, and that there are different ways to do this. And there certainly are ways that if it's done in a timely way, that appropriate poles can be purchased that not only will host the 5G, but will also be dark sky compliant in this terminology that we're discussing. So, Max, if you could get us back to the committee, please.
Okay. That would be me who's doing that.
Oh,
And
okay.
Stop
I've
the
lost
share.
my,
Yeah,
Thanks,
just
Frank.
stop share, yeah.
okay.
Frank and Kate, stay with us, please, so that you can help answer any questions and concerns that come up here.
Can you stop sharing, Frank?
I've lost my lower bar on the controls.
I think we're standing in your front yard right now, Frank. There we go. Okay, we're open for discussion. Heather first, then Stuart and Janet, and we'll move along here.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation today. I think it's so timely and such really good, important information. I would just like to give my 100% support for your proposal and what you're trying to do. I think that's something that we should enact for the new lighting for the boardwalk, as well as any lighting throughout the city that's going to be replaced because it's no longer working properly, or anything moving forward from this point. I think the city should enact 100%. Not just all, you said good, better, best. I think we should be in the best category for all of our lighting. There's no reason not to. I think that we need to be really cautious with anything that's approved for the boardwalk. As you said, it's very timely. This is a really critical point as we move forward. Replacing all of the lights on the boardwalk, I know that was a big issue for our mayor. That was one of his really heartfelt projects. And I think that before we move forward with replacing any lights on the boardwalk, that we make sure that we do the best that we possibly can. I think it's also super, super important to, I know it might be a little on the technical side, but to keep all of our lighting below the 2700 Kelvin. There are a lot more reasons for that, but I think that's a really critical thing that we need to include in there. And I would love to join your organization, so hopefully you'll give us more. Great. So I support you 100%, and anything that you need from our committee, I would be happy to volunteer to help you out.
Thanks,
Wonderful.
Heather.
Thank you.
Stuart?
This sounds very exciting. I'd echo Heather's comments 100%. If I'm hearing you correctly, Frank, you're saying that these lights are less expensive than what we have now. So the cost of replacing them would not be as much as what we have or whenever we're replacing light poles. And I also agree totally with Heather that this should go beyond the boardwalk for whenever we're replacing, or whenever it's in the budget to replace lights on, like on Rehoboth Avenue, all the way through Rehoboth, when that ever comes up, that be considered also, so that the commissioners, their option would be to put the best lighting available, because it would help the sky so it allow people to walk on down Rehoboth Avenue or Maryland Avenue and kind of get to see the sky as well. So wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stuart. Janet, you're next.
Okay, I too 100% agree. I think that is a fabulous presentation. Thank you both so much. The one graphic, or the one picture that I saw on the notes that we were sent, showed the light above the 5G units, and the light was actually underneath of it was casting a shadow. So it was illuminating the 5G, casting a shadow underneath it, which to me said, oh my gosh, we're going the wrong way here. So I absolutely agree. I think, and also we should go with the best. Why not? As we replace them, I thought was the terminology you were using, as they needed to be replaced with. So I 100% agree with you. I think that's a fabulous idea.
Thanks, Janet. Charlie?
I love seeing the night sky.
We'll go to Charlie, and then we'll go to Nettie.
Great, thanks. We had a green drinks program in June of 2020 here in Rehoboth Beach, led by Dr. Jeff Bueller, who's an associate professor of wildlife ecology at the University of Delaware, talking about night dark skies and the impact of light pollution on migrating birds throughout North America. So our community has had at least that opportunity to learn more about dark skies. We're glad to see you all following up here. I would point out that in my own home, we have trespassing light from our neighbor, a commercial building. And that fellow, I asked him to turn his lights off at nighttime. What does he need them on? Well, he said Chief Banks of the police told him to please leave it on in order to deter crime. So I guess another recommendation I would have for you all or us to join you in speaking with those who might make such recommendations to be sure that they include in it the idea of dark skies so that you don't have light trespassing on other neighbors. The last question I had was the lamps that you're referring to that are of a warmer color, they're not incandescent and energy inefficient, are they? We can have both energy efficiency and warm colors, yes?
Absolutely. The LED lights, naturally, the LEDs produce a bluish white light. They have filtered LED lights, which are common when you go to the Home Depot and buy LED light bulbs for your home. That you can buy them in different color temperatures. They are minimally less efficient, but they're still almost as efficient. And yes, they're available in any color at all. And there is a move towards warm light in all lighting, so it's really not an issue at all. It's just that the first ones that hit the market were all bluish white light, and so that's often what you see.
Well, I hope we
Hey, you
make that
guys,
part
I'm
of our
sorry.
proposal.
I'm going to butt in right now. I have to get out of this room in 4 minutes, so I may disappear. And if Dick, you can let me know anything that I need to know to add to the notes, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Catherine.
You're welcome.
Charlie, anything else on your comment?
I was just going to say that I hope that whatever proposal goes forward, that it include the idea that we want warm light, but we want energy efficient light at the same time, so that that key point is not forgotten.
Right.
Sure, thank you. Nettie?
I agree with
And then
everything.
Mary.
I just think it is so exciting because I've just felt like, well, I'm just super sensitive. And the reason I like living where I live is that we can actually see the night sky, and that driving up my road, I have to put on the brights of my car because it is so dark, and I love that. Maybe it's because I came from the country, but I love seeing the night sky, and I appreciate the way you dealt with arguments. Like, the presentation is just incredible. Dealing with, safety issues, security issues, trespassing. I felt like it was trespassing, but I was never able to actually put it that way or look at it scientifically. It was just more my feeling. They're imposing on my sky, and I think turtles feel the same way, but they can't be on our committee. Thank you. Wonderful.
Nettie. Mary?
Yes, I just want to add one more thing. I agree 100% too, that maybe we should also put something in our building code for new construction, because it's, people don't even think of it. And I just went through the construction process, and I went to the lighthouse to pick out all my lights, and someone said, "Oh, do you want the ones that are night sky, pointing down?" I'm like, of course, but it wasn't anything that was that I had thought of going in there. And so I think we should also think about, for new construction of houses, putting something in the building code for that.
Great, thank you. Catherine?
One last thing for me, we don't actually have turtles that nest in Rehoboth, but last summer we had a loggerhead come up and nest in Bethany. And there is some talk in the environmental mayor world that because the climate is changing, these turtles are looking for new nesting places. So wouldn't that be wonderful if we changed all this lighting and then we started?
They actually do nest up at North Shores and Cape Henlopen Park. So it is an issue, and it's our.
They nest up there?
Oh yes, they have areas that they block from traffic and whatnot, so that the turtles can make it from their nesting area, and that's a critical period of time. The birds and stuff are going after those baby turtles.
Yeah.
And so if they head towards Rehoboth Beach as opposed to the ocean, it increases their time of vulnerability. So it is an issue.
All right, well then I'm mistaken.
Well, we don't have them in the city of Rehoboth, but north of here we do, and our light affects them.
Okay, I gotta go. They're kicking me out.
I'm very cognizant of the time here, and thank you all. Great comments after this presentation. I have heard from every committee member that, in your words, that you're 100% supportive of this.
Do you want to make a motion to recommend?
I was just going to Frank, and I was going to go back to Heather because you were quite articulate in, well, you all were, but the way you talked about it, I thought, oh, she's making a motion. And so if you would like to make a motion, and if, is our secretary still on? No. So Heather, if you would make a motion and we could hopefully quickly deal with that, and then you put that in writing and send it to me today, tomorrow, as soon as it works for your schedule, then we can move that along per the request from our three guests here today. So Heather, thank you for letting me call on you to do this.
Sure. No problem. Oh, you want me to go ahead and say it? Or
Please.
Okay. I would like to make a motion that the city of Rehoboth Beach, before they proceed with replacing any lighting on the boardwalk and consider incorporating into any future light replacement, all of the dark skies recommendations, especially including the 2700 Kelvin and the best practices in their proposal today.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. Kate, Frank, anything else that while we're discussing before we vote that should be added that's helpful to the direction that you're going in?
No, I think
he's covered it. Yeah. I mean, we definitely want the immediate thing in front of us is dark sky compliant for the replacement of the poles on the boardwalk. But I love the broader scope that you've laid out.
Good, thank you. Any further discussion on this? I'm going to bring this motion to a vote then. Charlie, if you're trying to say something, you're muted. There you go.
Would Heather accept a friendly amendment to incorporate Mary Peck's suggestion that this be made a part of the building code and or to include the words energy efficiency at all times in these new lights?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Janet, you seconded it.
I do.
Are you accepting that as a friendly addition to your motion? Okay. All right, thank you. So while we don't have that written formally in front of you, I think you all understand the direction we're going. We'll ask Heather to put that in writing and get it to me, and then I can move it along on behalf of the Environment Committee in a very, very, very quick and streamlined way here. So all in favor of this motion, please raise your hand. I see every committee member in support of it. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.
Kate and Frank, thank you very much. Give our best to Jan. We missed her, but we appreciate what the three of you are doing, and we'll look forward to this moving along. And don't hesitate to come back to us on this issue or related environmental kinds of issues.
Well, thank you all very much for listening to us and for voting for that amendment. I really appreciate it.
Our pleasure. The last thing I want to bring up for the committee, a totally different topic, is our meeting date. We've bounced around in I think last month and definitely this month because we were conflicting with other commissions and committees. And while we're still under COVID regulations, which looks like it's going to go on for some time, our staff time is very tight at City Hall and fairly minimal. And so I think we want to get away from Fridays because that was not working well. We were conflicting with some ongoing, I think, particularly with the Planning Commission. Is Thursdays, like today, a good time?
That'd be fine.
Is 11 a.m. a good time?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we stay on, this is the third, this is the second Thursday of the month.
Mhm.
So if we try to go for that, I don't know if Ann is listening, but I will check with her and see if we could kind of get a spot carved out on the second Thursday of the month from 11 a.m. till noon or so. Is that good?
Mhm.
Okay, no one's objecting. Okay, because I want everyone to be included and involved and to participate. I think with that said, I'm looking at 7 or 8 after the hour, I think. And so we're going to have to adjourn. We will get minutes out. Once I get the motion from Heather, I will share that with everyone, but you've already approved it. And Heather, thank you for that. Thanks everyone for all of your participation today. We will continue moving these things along and I will stay in touch and you stay in touch as well, please. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Okay, a second.
Second.
Okay, thank you all. Best way.